Hello and welcome to the Happy, Healthy, Strong podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you live a happier, healthier, and stronger life. Building a life that you love starts with you owning your health and intentionally creating the best version of yourself. So if you're looking to better understand how proper nutrition, daily movement, mindset work, and strength training can help you create a life full of happiness and health, then you are in the right place. I generally hope that the tips, tricks, and information that we share will be the catalyst for change. I'm your host, Adam Lane. It's time to dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Happy, Healthy, Strong podcast. I'm your host, Adam Lane. With me today, Rick Klotz.
Morning.
Runner, marathoner, international man of mystery.
Ooh. Not sure about that, although I am a big Austin Powers.
I miss Mike Myers. He seemed to fall off the face of the earth a little bit. And
yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know what maybe he made his money and he's done now.
That's right. Could be happy and healthy in Canada, wherever.
Yeah. Pretty sure he's Canadian.
Yes.
Yeah. He was fantastic. Here, I'm going to move you up just a little bit there. There we go. Rick, for the tens of people who listen to the show who might not know who you are and why you're such a big deal, tell these people who you are, why you're such a big deal.
Yeah, I'll give you the cliff notes. So I affectionately known as a master's runner. So somebody that's over the age of 40. And we won't define that anymore. But
so like 40 and a half?
Yeah.
Possibly 41?
At least 40 and a half. Yeah. And I ran my first marathon in 2019 at the ripe old age of 60.
Holy buckets.
And I thought, one and done.
Yeah.
That's it. And I got the bug.
Have you run before that?
I ran cross country at Rockford College before it became a university.
Okay. A few years before.
Okay. My kids always played soccer, and I coached and officiated and linesman and ran practices. So I ran when my kids were, playing soccer. I played in the old man's league for 3 seasons in the fall.
Okay.
The old men who like to hurt each other on Sundays.
Yeah. How's your game?
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played soccer when I was in high school, but it was all just sort of recreational kind of stuff. And, but I'm very competitive. And so getting the marathon bug in 2019, it was a connection, because we're talking about healthy, happy, all that stuff, right? My dad had pancreatic cancer, and that was my trigger. It was like, dude, you're getting old. You should get moving again. And that's waiting for you if you don't get moving. And so his illness kind of shook me up, got me restarted. And 2019, I ran with Project Purple, which is for pancreatic cancer patients. And I thought, okay, I raised a lot of money. I raised $5,000 and I was fired up and I crossed the finish line with my fists in the air.
Yeah.
My target was 4:30. I crossed at 4:31 and I thought,
that's not bad.
Best marathon ever.
Yes.
Raised the money I was supposed to raise. Great cause. And then I thought, I think I can do better than that.
It was a competitive piece.
Yeah. So this year was marathon number 7.
Yeah.
And last year, 2023, is my fastest.
Okay.
And I just find, I guess, running is physical, running is healthy, running is hard. It's motivating, but a lot of it is mental health for me. And the missing piece still is I still eat like a garbage can, right? So if I could get all the pieces of the triangle to kind of fit together, nutrition and fueling still kind of challenging at times, but Oaks made a huge difference for me in terms of muscle endurance. Aerobic capacity has never been an issue. I can run all the miles you throw at me, but I would collapse in the second half of races until I started working with Matt. Yeah. And he's like, we're going to fix your engine. And I didn't really know what that meant.
What, then you have your times and stuff here, which is fantastic because it's fun to see big numbers and then numbers get smaller as you go. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say, I mean, this is the nicest way possible. You're not a natural runner. It's not like you were growing up doing this, you've been doing it for the last 50 years. You kind of a late habit, obviously playing the soccer and stuff like that too, which I think is fantastic. That lateral change of direction stuff that most runners don't do. Mm-hmm. So with that, which I'm curious the direction that when you say fix the engine, what did you guys look at? How'd they fix your engine? Because you have an engine that can go run forever. You're like a Pontiac Vibe. You just right. and go.
Right. Well, I think I went through from 2019 to through the pandemic thinking if I just run all the miles, I can run all the races and I'll just get better because I'm running more.
Yeah.
And the more I looked at the statistics, the more I looked at my performance. More miles does not make you faster. More miles does not get you a PR. Yep. It's just more miles. And it's repetitive. It's the same motion.
Yeah.
One foot in front of the other. There's no variation. You're not adding any resistance to it. You're just running a lot.
Except if you hit a hill now and again.
Yeah. And I'm a hill. I love hills. Yeah. My joke with my running friends is I eat hills for breakfast. Yeah. Right. I love hills.
Yeah.
Build strength. And it's also good strategy for races.
Yep.
If it's a hilly race, are you going to attack the hills and coast the downhills, or are you going to attack up and fly?
Yeah.
Right. Never let a good downhill go to waste.
Yeah.
That's my right. But I still wasn't where I wanted to be. I wasn't shattering my previous PRs by 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. It's just like, oh, that's faster than the last time by 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And I would get done with the race and think, man, I don't understand. I ran 52 more miles this month than I did last month, and it didn't make a difference. And so my connection to Oak is through Kate Moore's myoskeletal practice. And she told me for 2 years, you need to go talk to Matt. You need to just go talk to him. He can help you. He can make all these things that you come to me with, that this hurts, that seems kind of weak. I feel like I'm off balance. Just go see Matt. And finally she said, I'm not suggesting it anymore. You're going to call him. You're going to make an appointment. And the next time I see you, I want your confirmation and Matt's confirmation that you showed up. And I'm like, you're serious? She goes, I'm dead serious, because I'm wasting time trying to make you feel better about this thing that hurts and this thing that's off. Just go see Matt. So I finally got the courage up. I left a message. He called me back right away, and he's like, I'm just a big teddy bear, and you're going to love working with me. And I came in and I was like, oh my Lord. I mean, Matt,
not a small teddy bear.
Not a small teddy bear. I mean, he probably could pick me up with one hand and carry me around, right? And I thought, what is this guy going to do to me, right? And what he started.
Just think what little Kate can do.
What I think sort of impressed me, or maybe scared, it scared me more than anything, was we're going to see where you're at. It's like, okay, what are you going to do? Well, how's your balance? Are you in alignment? Do you lean one way? Do you lean another way? Are you upright? Are you slumped over? And thinking, okay, he's going to find all these things that I know are wrong with me, but I don't want to talk about it, right? And he very gently pointed out these weaknesses. And I think early in the process, I think it's a funny story. It's still a source of tension between Matt and I, but I cannot jump rope. And he tried. God bless him. He tried for weeks to get me to jump rope. And it didn't matter what I did. I thought, this is just horrible.
Old dog, new tricks.
Jeez, how could you gotten this far in life and you can't jump rope? So now I have those the ropeless jump rope with the little weighted balls on it. I can do that.
There you go. You nail those.
I don't trip myself. I don't hurt myself. anyway, he just started working on the basics with me, right? You have super strong quads because calves because you're a runner and you run a lot. I can see that.
Yeah.
But everything else is out of balance.
Okay.
Your quads are not strong enough. Your hamstrings are weak. Your lower back is not in the right position. And our favorite thing to talk about now is our gluteus medius.
Need some glute med.
Which is, it's funny because it's a great place to concentrate for power, but it's also a great place to keep your pelvis in alignment and your spine in the right place. Yeah. And I have a lot less trouble with things that old people have trouble with, like their SI joints. And everybody gets up in the morning, they say, oh, my sciatica is bothering me again. No disrespect for somebody who has real sciatica problems, but most of what runners complain about is just, you're just weak.
Yeah.
And so when I come see Matt, I haven't learned my lesson. I'm always honest and I'm truthful. And I say, this hurts. And it just opens the door for more hurt for a while because you work through the discomfort, right? Which is a foreign concept for me.
Yeah.
I'm in pain, so let's inflict more pain. It's like, hey, why? And I'm paying this guy. But he's made a huge difference for me in terms of the engine. Back to the question about the engine. The whole combination of your glutes, your sort of stability and your ability to finish a race has all come together for me. Yeah. It's still not perfect because I might have mentioned I eat like a garbage can, right? But for the most part, I finish races with something in the tank. I sprint across the finish line after 26 miles. This year was an unexpected race with a couple of falls early in the race, which mentally could have, rattled me, and I could have said, all right, that's it. I'm done. Unbelievably, I heard voices in my head. One of them was Matt. It was like, just suck it up, dig deep. You have the strength to finish this race. Yeah. It's not going to be a PR, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Just finish, dig deep, keep pushing. And I did. And it used to crush me when I couldn't beat my previous. Now everything is, what did I learn from this experience, right? Nobody expects to go to the pavement twice in the first mile and a half. You think, why would that even happen? Yeah. Right.
Not in a road race. MMA fight, possibly, Right.
But I think, again, it's a testament to the work on the engine.
Yeah.
Because falling is hard.
Yeah.
And reaching so that you don't, scratch your face or break a tooth or hit your head.
Yeah.
I have that now.
Yeah.
And I was able to get back up and keep moving. And I still finished the race with something in the tank.
Yeah.
That's the engine, which I didn't have until I started working with Oak.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, it's funny how when you finish with something in the tank, it's funny how many people you see cross the finish line and they lose all control of everything, completely passing out. And like they have enough for 26.2, but not 26.20001 because, which people push themselves to the brink, whatever, that is a thing. Rick, I think it's great. When I started to incorporate, because when I did the triathlon thing, hot and heavy, I would swim and I would bike and I would run. And actually the bike was, I'm not going to count it as strength training for the running, but kind of. But it was also it was a tri bike. And so I was more on top of the bike. So it's a little bit more, more of an anterior quad dominant thing than it is like hamstring, like the run. That's why they make the bike ends up being more quad, the run ends up being more hamstring. So you can kind of save your hamstrings for the run. But swimming is resistance, but it's not like weight resistance and stuff like that. But when I started to incorporate strength stuff and started squatting and deadlifting and then also doing all that accessory stuff that you're talking about in the way of just and again, I was younger too, less with the balance stuff and stuff like that, but there's still there's stuff you can do with the foot to make the foot stronger. Make sure that the ankle fully functions. plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, it's amazing. With inserting the strength training into my routine, I didn't have enough hours in the week to run the same mileage that I did, to bike the same mileage that I did, to swim the same yardage that I did. And I got faster. I'm like, well, this is weird. And I went from going from like, top 2 or 3 in my age group to top 2 or 3 in the whole race. And it's funny how I can relate to everything that you're saying, because like you finish and you feel great. And that's kind of what it should be. It should be like, because I've had those things like, hey, if you run 25 miles in a week, well, that's great. And the next week you run 30, and the next week you run 35, and then 40, and then 45. Are you any better that you're running 50 miles a week versus running 30 miles a week? The answer could be yes, but the answer also might be no.
Correct.
And you just ran an extra 20 miles for what?
Yeah. And
it could be good. It could be bad. It depends on who you are. I'm just throwing out numbers here, but that's the part where I think there's what I would love for runners to do. And I think you've done this. There's a quality over quantity thing going on here. And not saying you don't need some easy distance running miles and, just some LSD type thing. And I do think there's a huge mental component to that. That's why I always like trail running better. I like getting out in the trees, and like that was always my gig. I still, even when I hike and ruck, or even run now, I'll go trail versus the pavement. You pound the pavement though, and you get that.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned trail running, because a lot of the people that I run with are mixed mode runners. Right? They're not just
crazy people.
They're not just road runners. There's a bad joke in here. Hopefully you won't fall for it, but falling in Chicago in a road race was disturbing, because it's not expected to happen. Yeah. You don't fall in road races, you fall in trails, right? You fall in an ultra, you go over the cliff and you're in the bottom of a ravine and yelling for help. Yeah. Falling at a road race now has sort of stimulated this thinking of that could be balance. That could be, are you running too upright? You're not leaning in. Maybe trail running as a part of the mix would help. It works different muscles. It's the side to side. It's up and down. It's lift your head, drop your head. Yeah. Arms out to help balance on this downhill with a bunch of tree roots. And it's stimulating some thinking that maybe I shouldn't be so afraid of trail running. Yeah. Yeah. You'll probably fall. Yeah. You'll probably trip over something, but you just did in what should have been like perfect conditions for a road racer. Yeah. And it wasn't. Yeah. And so it's like, I think that could be interesting. Yeah. My thing about mileage now is more, I don't want to I don't want to be undertrained. And so, I have a running coach that I work with who's virtual. We've never met in person. We don't run together. But he's given me variety. Yeah. He's given me tempo runs and fartlek runs. And I want you to run for 20 minutes at a 7:45 pace. And I stare at it and I think, I don't run at 7:45 pace. But you need to in this workout. It's like, I know, but I don't run at that pace. He's like, no, but you're going to. It's a bit like working with Matt on the strength side. He loads up a sled with 240 pounds on. He says, I just want you to push that 10 yards. And I'm thinking, that's twice my weight, dude. I don't think so that idea of you got to break some of the mental struggle down. You can push 240 pounds. You can run 7:45. I'm not asking you to run a whole marathon at that pace, but if you don't run faster sometimes for a sustained period of time, then you have to accept that you're always going to run at this 9:15 pace or 8:50 pace. You want to get below 4 hours in a marathon. You want to get to 3:45. You want to get to 3:30. We're talking 8:20, 8:15 pace. Yeah. You can do that. but you got to run sometimes at a pace that's very uncomfortable and a pace you can't believe.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Yes, you can. and so he's helped me realize that everybody has a limit. Everybody has a comfort zone. But if you want to get faster, you have to run faster sometimes.
Yeah.
You can't just run 80% easy and 20%, all right, I'll run just a little faster because I need to. But I'm I'm an analytical. I'm a numbers guy. I wear 2 watches. You
do.
I have.
We have 2 watches.
My Garmin is my runner's watch.
Okay.
Right. The Fitbit is because I have a bunch of friends who don't have these, and 5 years ago it was like, dang it, you got more steps in today than I did. All right, I'm closing the gap on this. So, and now this is my reliable, I'll say, timepiece.
Okay.
When I'm on a run or I'm at a race, it's like I know what's happening here. I can see how much power I'm putting out. I can see what my cadence is. But what time is it?
Yeah.
I don't want to have to try to toggle through here.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've lost the screen and I'm 6 miles into this run and I'm all disoriented.
Yeah.
Don't touch this watch.
Mm-hmm.
This one, what time is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But I look at all the statistics. How many calories did I burn? What's the estimated sweat loss? What was your cadence over the run? What was the pace? What happened when you climbed these 3 hilly segments? And I'm not saying there are people that have a Garmin that maybe don't need one or shouldn't have one because they don't pay any attention to, they push the start button, they push the stop button, they look at them, oh, that's faster than yesterday. Not me. I'm looking at everything and I'm trying to forecast. If you just ran a 16-mile training run, 2,200 calories over 2.5 hours, and you had sweat loss of 1,600 milliliters, that's 4 bottles. And how much did you put back in? You only took 1 gel. You didn't even replace the calories you burned. Wonder why you got so tired in the last 5 miles, right? Because you got to think of this thing sort of holistically.
Absolutely.
The engine's better than it's ever been. Yeah. I'm covering the mileage. I got 115 miles last month working up to the Chicago Marathon. But if you're ignoring all this other stuff, not enough protein coming in, right? You get to a point, at least I have, where I obsess with all those things, right? And I'm gonna run another marathon in February, down in Miami. It's gonna be a redemption marathon for me because Chicago was not what I planned. Temperature is going to be different. Humidity is going to be different. Elevation, it's flat as a pancake, right? But they have you climb multiple causeways over to South Beach and then out to Key Biscayne. So you got to be prepared for that. But you also got to, so it's like, okay, a new challenge now. This is not Chicago. Yeah. We are not going to fall no matter what. We are not going to trip and fall. And I'm going to beat my best. Yeah. So I could get below 357 in Miami. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try. Yeah. And Matt knows that. Yeah. Matt's going to push me. My running coach is going to push me. And now Rick has to figure out how to fuel better, get better prepared, load up before the race, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But anyway.
So to tie this, I think it's great that those old Hal Higdon running programs used to drive me bonkers back in the day. And they're probably better now because I haven't looked at one in 20 years. But just like 5 miles on this day, 3 miles on this day, 5 miles on this day, cross train this day off, long run, and just and whatever, rinse and repeat. It would slowly, whatever, titrate out and it get bigger and bigger. But everything that you said there in the way of, if you want to run faster, which most people do, to integrate the hill running, the fartlek stuff, the interval stuff, a time trial at 7:45 where you're pushing yourself in a position that you normally don't want to, because what I see way too often with runners is that they will run 9:15 pace for their 5K, and then they'll run 9:16 pace for their 10K because they have one speed. They'll run a half marathon and they'll run 9:20 pace. Like they're literally they have one gear to go into, and,
Right.
and that's what they go into. Which, again, I'm not judging anyone. That's absolutely fine. But once you start to integrate that run training stuff, because I think it's fantastic that you have that running coach, somebody that can help guide you and stuff. I think everybody needs a coach. Our volleyball athletes need coaches to help guide them. Our adults,
Absolutely.
people who are working out, they need a coach to lead them with this, because if they try to do it on their own, it's tough. You have your own whatever. You don't have anybody to help you break down those barriers, like we're talking about. And we're talking before we hit record here. The difference between training and working out. And a lot of times I feel like runners just work out, like they just do stuff to do stuff, and we just go through the motions, and we're gonna do that. But as opposed to actually focusing on, hey, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
What are you great at? Amazing calves. What do you need help with? Hey, this, that, and the other thing. Da, 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 da. Hey, we're going to attack this in a smart, systematic manner. Or we take runner B, who, is maybe crazy fast on the flats, but oh my gosh, you hit a hill and they die. Okay. Hey, what do we have to do here? And then take a look at, let's look at gait. Let's look at strength, speed, power. We have some force plate stuff that, we assess, athletes on and stuff like that. Like there's a lot, or sometimes it's just, I don't want to say the eye test, but, just a visual, hey, let's see where we are. Our hips completely locked down. What do our feet look like? How are our ankles? What's our posture look like? There are all these things that runners, in my opinion, can do better with. And in my opinion, it's not that big of a deal for them to do a little bit more. Like there's only so many hours in the day. Like I get that. And I don't want to take away from the fun of running and stuff like that. Because if you're a runner, you probably enjoy running. There are a lot of people that don't. But if you do, yay for you. And that's awesome. But I'm impressed that I feel like you have all the pieces to the puzzle. And I'm excited to see Miami.
Yeah. Well, a couple other thoughts, just because I might have mentioned I'm a master's runner, right? Which means I'm an old guy. But I refuse to get slow just because I'm old.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the people I run with are significantly younger than I am, and I can still smoke them in a race. And there's a lot of satisfaction in that. And
yeah, he's talking smack, guys, if you're listening right now.
Well,
Los Lobos.
Since the Olympics, I kind of have like a internal Snoop Dogg going on, right? And I hear Snoop when I'm running, like, and you gotta have some fun with it. So we run a race up in Madison. It's actually in Monona, but it's 20K around Lake Monona. Which is hilly,
Mm-hmm.
And then you're out in the open. It gets really sunny and hot as you come back around the other side of the lake, and then they throw this, I think it's 2 or 2.5 mile slow kill the runners uphill, that if you don't study the course, you'll get smoked.
Yeah, because
you don't run like that, right? Oh, I run hills. Great. What does a hill look like? Well, it's about 100 yards. It's a 7% slope. And I do that 3 times a week. How many repeats do you do on that hill? Well, just one. Okay. Study the Monona course and calculate that one long climb is 10 of those repeats. Yeah. You need to do 10 hill repeats to be ready for Monona, not one. Every once in a while, you study the course and you apply your training. So when I run Monona, this is kind of contrary to what most runners think or how they behave on the course. I attack the uphill, especially early uphills, because I got to get my confidence up. I got to feel. And then when I get to the top of the hill, I'm Peter Pan. Yeah. I'm flying. Never let a good downhill go to waste. Let's cook. Yeah. Well, you're only in the first mile of the race. Why do you do that? Because it puts wind in the sails. I get confidence, and I think I'm going to smoke this race.
Yeah.
I just blew that through that hill, and I left 25 people behind me. Yeah. Gives you a little bit of confidence, and your training helps you do that, right? I'm a good hill climber because of the work on the engine. Yeah. And because I strength train, I don't just work out. Yeah. Right. And it's you know, I wouldn't say it's not hard, because it is hard.
It is hard. Absolutely.
But the payoff for a runner is huge. Yeah. And my running coach would probably argue with me, but my improvement in times in the marathon are more about the strength training. Yeah. He's helped on the running side with variety and anticipating the race, modifying the week by week expectations to match the demands of the race. But he'll say, I'm just so glad you're working with a strength coach, because it's huge. Yeah. I mean, look at where you started and where you are now. I know Chicago was disappointing this year, but dang. Yeah. You know,
well, I mean, all your other, I mean, you know, you came down from a 502 to a 422 to a 357 over 2 years there.
Right. And that's the 2 years that I've been working with Oak.
Yeah. You dropped an hour 05.
Right.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. It's like, it's unbelievable, right? Yeah. To break 4 hours for me was like the ultimate mental barrier. I don't know if I can ever do that. Yeah. Matt gets inside my head. My running coach gets inside my head. And as you're getting ready for the marathon, you run 50 more miles, run another 100 miles. It won't have an impact because it's up here that last 4 to 6 weeks before the marathon. You got to believe, you got to run the course in your head. You got to visualize, what am I going to do when I get here? When I get to Pilsen, it's going to be lots of energy. I'm going to go through Chinatown, and then it gets really quiet. Mile 22, mile 23. Yeah. Not a lot of spectators. You're on your own. If you counted on crowd energy and people shouting your name, it's the desert. Yeah. Yeah. Are you ready for that? Yeah. Right. So people that run with music every single time they run, I joke, I run naked. I don't mean that literally, but I don't run with music. I don't put headphones on. I feel it. I hear it. I listen to I call foot slap. Am I making too much noise? Am I pretty smooth here? There's so much sensory input that you miss if you're just, wow. You said it earlier. Everybody likes running. Well, maybe not everybody really likes to run. I like running, but I'm going to complain the whole time I'm running. Right. If you have these other inputs, I run, but I don't really enjoy it. Yeah. Well, but I got a great mix. I got a great playlist for, okay, but what if your watch dies? What if your phone dies? What if your earbuds lose the battery at mile 20? What are you going to do? Yeah. You got to dig deep. Where's that? Yeah. Where's that at? So people love to listen to podcasts. They love to listen to books. They like to listen to their playlist. I'm kind of a purist. Yeah. There is somebody that I won't mention her name. She grew up in this area. She went to high school in this area. Her parents own a restaurant in this area. And we did a joint run in Chicago. Los Lobos is a relatively new group in this area. And we got connected with Gold Coast Run Club in Chicago. Okay. Went in and did a run with them. And we were chatting back and forth. And this person mentioned, the greatest such and such restaurant in the Rockford area, if you've never been there. And I'm like, this is interesting. And then she said the name of the restaurant, and I was like, that's like my favorite restaurant in Rockford. And she goes, well, how do I know you're not just a stalker? It's like, oh, this will be interesting. She goes, what do you usually order when you go there? So I told her, well, how many this particular restaurant, I'm giving away all the secrets, but the amount of heat in the food is the number of stars.
Okay.
Right. I said, well, I usually get this with 3 stars. Well, you could have looked that up on the internet. What do you get if you're not in the mood for that? It's like, well, that's easy. I get this 4-star. And she's like, okay, I know you're not a stalker now. And now I lost my whole point of telling the story about. Anyway, there's this community with runners, right? There's a community here at Oak, no doubt about it. But the running community is like so big.
It is.
And it's the Rockford area. It's the State Line area. It's Chicago. I'm going to go run Miami. And by the time I get in my start corral and the time we hit the starting line and mile 8, when I see somebody struggling, we're all in this together and we help each other. So anyway, she grew up in this area. And I'm running the marathon this year and I'm hurting because I've now fallen twice and I keep checking, make sure I'm not like trailing a pint of blood behind me and whatever. I'm all scraped up.
Why am I lightheaded? Oh, look at that.
And I'm sort of in the zone. It's like, just shut all these voices off, pay attention to the course and just tough this one out. Right. And I saw somebody that I know. I was like, hey, and then I looked up and it was sort of like this out of body moment. I saw the big banner for Gold Coast Run Club and I saw all these people up on one of the elevated planters on LaSalle as we're going north. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, put the brakes on. So I checked my 6, I stop, I walk backwards and I'm like, Gold Coast. And they all yell my name. And I'm just like,
that's awesome.
That's runners to me. Runners, they just love other runners and all shapes and sizes and colors and backgrounds. And some people speak great English and some people don't. And when I fell the second time in Chicago, after I got over the disbelief that this just happened again, a very nice female runner from Brazil came over and she's like, oh my God, are you okay? And she kind of helped me get back up. And she's like, okay, you're bleeding over here. You're kind of scraped up over here, but it doesn't look too bad. How do you feel? I said, well, I'm still a little bit shocked that just happened. But she's like, all right, you need to get moving again. Run with me for a few minutes and let's make sure you're okay. And I'm thinking, why did you what? I don't even know who you are. Right. Kind of like the witness of a car accident. There was this great person that stopped by to check on me to make sure I didn't get their name. I didn't get their license plate number. And you go on social media and say, if anybody knows this person who, that's kind of the feeling that I had. But that sense of community is a big part of running. Yeah. And it's a big part of why I'm still pushing myself is because runners do want to run faster to your earlier point. Right. And they count on each other to help them. Completely.
So, I think it's interesting. Every little community that I've, the running community, because when I ran Chicago in 1999, that was only a little while ago.
A couple weeks ago.
I was driving. I did it, similar to you. I did a fundraiser. My sister had leukemia when I was growing up. Has since beat it and doing well. Has 3 kids, married a farmer. But with the team in training, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, we would do runs in Chicago, drive into Chicago. Typically my dad would come with and whatnot, because who wants to drive into Chicago? I don't. Not now. 25 years ago, less bad, but it was such a cool group, like you're saying. When I got more into the triathlon thing, same thing. With these people who are, they're a little nerdier because they're, if we can save 2 ounces by getting a lighter seat post, they would. Like that would make a difference, This little ruck club that I'm a part of right now, same thing. I think it's interesting whenever you take people, like-minded people who are yearning towards this like fitness health deal. There's a connection. And I think that's that community piece that you see in gyms, that you see in different, athletic clubs, run clubs, ruck clubs, tri clubs, whatever it is. Like everybody's like, you like doing this crazy thing too? I like doing it too. Hey, let's do it together.
I
And
got an idea. Let's run 100-mile race together.
Oh gosh. And I think it's great. I think that's the community part of that holds people accountable, that keeps people coming back for more. Yeah. And I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. The social media aspect of all of this, there's so much going on social media that people start to believe that it's trouble, that it's troubling, that it's divisive, and people are arguing all the time. I think the health, wellness, running, triathlon, bike racers, whatever it is, it's supportive. It's friendly competition. It's community.
Yeah.
So I'm connected with people in Europe, in South America, on Strava, where all my statistics go. And I'm getting shout outs from a complete stranger in Thailand who I've never met. And then out of curiosity, why did this person like my most recent run? And I go, look, it's like we run about the same number of miles per week. They just ran the London Marathon or the Berlin Marathon. And I should stay connected to this person because I'm just curious. Now I know when they're running races and I can give them the thumbs up. And it's like, that's a very positive aspect of social media related to staying fit, being healthy, is connect with people.
100%.
It's not to say, oh, I ran 25 more miles than you last week. I'm still better than you. It's just sort of this sense of we can all help each other run better. And I don't know, I probably spend too much time on Strava, and now I have challenges from other people in the Garmin ecosystem. And there were people on the same running team for Chicago that we're now all connected. And I think, okay, now I'm spending way too much time. I like that run. I liked your run. Your run was awesome. It's like, okay, bring it back. You don't have to clap for every single run, but I do think it's a powerful force for
bringing people together.
And anyway, I'm grateful to sort of have more of a holistic approach now. And as much as I sometimes grumble about it's time to go to Oak for my 1 hour with Matt, I'm really grateful when I'm done. And then a couple days later, after I stopped complaining about how much weight he made me pull on the sled, I realized that my long run on Saturday was easier. And I think, okay, I really should. So sometimes I text Matt, like, I was really angry with you on Thursday, but
Here's if you noticed.
Here's what happened in my 18-mile run on Saturday. I was able to push the pace the last 5 miles into race pace, and I was able to hold it. And I get a Matt sort of cheery message back. That's great. I'm really happy, and he's very. I think everybody here is attentive to people have a performance coming up, and everybody needs a cheerleader. And as soon I have a race coming up, Matt'll say, "Now what? That race is on. It's a week from Saturday, right? As soon as you cross the finish line, text me. I want to know how you did. And if I don't, I get a text like, Did you crash? Did you die? Is everything okay? Because remember, you were supposed to text me right away. So he's become kind of one of my biggest cheerleaders, which is cool.
Yeah. I think it's great that I just think back to the cross country coaching, the track and field coaching that I did. And you look at our distance runners that did really well. And I think you look at really like any like high level distance runners, a lot of them don't necessarily, it's not like they're running at the age of 2 and like they only run their entire life. Like you have your, a lot of your African population, your Ethiopians, your Kenyans who are just doing just amazing physical labor in bare feet, carrying jugs of water, up and down and just being strong. And then playing soccer or there obviously is running or, you know, stuff involved, but like they build that amazing base. And just looking back and being reflective, the best runners I had that stayed healthy and actually ran fast were the kids that could do lots of things. They were the kids that could jump. They were the kids that could change direction. They also happened to play basketball, you know, or soccer, or I mean, that was Liz Kalzinski, one of my best cross country runners. She loved soccer. Went to college, played Division II soccer. She would finish a, you know, 6 800s at 10-second sub race pace. Finish that last 800, not do the cool down, but grab her bag and jump into her mom's minivan so she could then, you know, run out to soccer practice. But Liz could like cut and jump and change her, like she was an athlete. So when you talk about like this holistic approach to not saying we had to turn everyone into a, you know, Division II soccer player or like this massive, you know, we don't need you squatting 500 pounds, because if you're squatting 500 pounds, you're not running that, you know, that fast. But you need to be able to squat and to be balanced in your squat. You need to be able to lunge and to be balanced in your lunge. Like there's just like these prerequisites that, you know, you again use the word holistic, which I think you nailed it. And by putting those pieces together to see these numbers drop is really what happens. Like you're just rounding yourself off as an athlete, and you're just an athlete that happens to run, versus before you were just a runner. And I think you're doing all the right things. I'm excited for Miami.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah. No pressure. But well, I find it sort of funny because I just turned 65, right? So I've run.
Now you told the people. Jeez.
Well, I've run 7 marathons. My first one was at age 60, and I'm focused on Miami with the intent of it being my fastest and my best. And I look around at my cohort, people over the age of 60, and I kind of get a little smug. I look over my shoulder and I think, I don't understand why people are surprised when they take 10, you know, prescription medications. They have this ailment and that ailment. Well, what have you done lately to move, to show some sign of? And so I see a lot of people here that are pushing themselves, and they're probably close to my age. And I just smile because there are a lot of people that could but don't. And I think this, you know, to me, moving, challenging yourself. Don't just go to the gym and say, well, I did my strength stuff today. Well, what were you trying to do? What were you working on? Well,
what was the goal?
I did the circuit. Okay. And I did 3 repeats at each station. Well, that's still better than eating 2 bags of Doritos and sitting on the couch watching some series on Netflix, right? At least you move. But once you get to the point where you have some goals and you're trying to improve, I don't think I've ever been in this good a shape.
Yeah. That's amazing. At the age of 65.
Yeah. So it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. And hopefully I don't trip over any carpeting and fall on a bridge in Miami. They don't carpet their bridges down there.
We need to clarify this for people, because it's not like you've been doing this, you know, whatever, strength training, and Matt throws lots of things at you. And you can call it balance work or whatever it is. You know, you want strong feet as a runner and stuff like that. The carpet that they put going over the bridge got balled up.
Yep.
And it should not have been balled up.
It should not.
You were not prepared for that. I wouldn't have been either. I hate running over those. What's the bridge?
Well, there's the bridge. They go up to let the boats in, right? And
it's the metal one.
It's like a open steel decking. Or I would call it almost like a mesh.
Yeah, and it's sharp.
Right, it's slippery early in the morning. So they cover it with a roll of carpet. But if you don't pull the carpet taut and anchor it, it can bunch up.
Yes.
54,000 runners going over one piece of carpeting. Eventually it's going to lift up and bunch up, and it chose me that day. But then I hear other runners in my head saying, well, it's because you do the old man shuffle. You need to pick your knees up. It's like, okay, you're right. They probably should.
That's a tough thing. That's a rough thing. And again, for you to, put your nose down and complete the race. And that was, I only did not complete one race. And it was a triathlon up in Madison, actually. Is like one of my first Olympic distance ones. I had a wetsuit for the first time, and I felt like I was unbreakable in the water. And I went out hard, and I was a pretty decent swimmer. And I went out hard, and the wetsuit kind of constricts a little bit because it's a wetsuit and sticking to you. Also holds in some heat that I was not ready for, and I got maybe a 400 in, 500 in or so, about 2 minutes of going after it hard. And somebody came through and like just whacked me in the face, just swimming, which happens, and I swallowed, and I lost everything. Like I couldn't.
I'm gonna drown.
Oh my, that's what it literally felt like, because my heart rate was I was going faster than I should have, and then it really inhaling half the lake did not help me, and I tried to kid it, but I started to panic a little bit, which I never really panicked. So anyway, I floated my way over to a guy on a paddleboard, grab on the paddleboard. He's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's like, he's like, "Is this your first race?" Like, no, it's my 20th, but don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay. I ended up finishing the swim, not where I want to. Jump on the bike. It's a 25-mile bike, 24 change or whatever it is. I get halfway through and I flat. I don't have a new tube. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I just like, this is not my day. But you're right. Like I felt like I learned a lot from that, and just not everything's going to go to. From there on, I started carrying a spare tube just in case I did flat, and I ended up flatting later that summer. Early, like within the first half mile, I flatted. Like, oh, son of a gun. So any hopes of finishing on the podium was gone at that point. But I'm like, whatever. Flip, fix the tire.
Yeah,
4 or 5 minutes. Get back on it. I wasn't going to win the race, but but it was, again, I love your attitude with this. I love everything about it. That's the thing I'm trying to highlight here. I love that you have the mental part of this going. Because I do think there's a massive mental part that comes from, I just pushed a 240 pound sled.
Absolutely.
I never thought I could do that. Like really these accomplishments, these weight room accomplishments. Because the thing I love about the weight room is that the weights don't lie. 240 pounds is 240 pounds. It doesn't matter the day. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. And so for you to consistently see those weights go up. There's like this mental thing that just blows up, and you feel confident. All of a sudden, your numbers, your training times start going down. You're feeling good. Kate works on you, and you're like that. Glute med that used to be really, really locked down and tight is better, and you feel stronger, and you have the run coach who's challenging you to, hey, we're gonna hit these 7:45 pace, blah 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 blah, and you do it, and you're like, oh yeah, let's go. We're down on the diet a little bit, and then
yeah,
at some point,
small wins all along the way, I think.
But I feel like you're just nailing it on so many levels. Again, at the age of 65, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. Because if you were 45, it would be phenomenal. And you're a little bit older than that. So,
yeah.
Rick, I really appreciate your time with this, man.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Appreciate the chance to come in and chat.
Is this the first podcast?
It is.
Oh, look at you. Big time here.
It's another one. It's a good omen from Miami.
Yes. Well, I'm excited, and we'll make sure that we, keep the listeners abreast of what's going on. Because it should be fast course.
It should.
Miami and Florida in February. That sounds like a good place to be.
No.
Better than Rockford in February.
True. Definitely less snow.
Gosh. Is there anything that we missed? Is there anything that you wish I would have asked you that I didn't?
Well, the only thing that Matt and I sort of banter about this every time I'm here, and I think it's a runner mental barrier or some sort of bias of, I just pushed a sled with 200 pounds on it 35 yards up and down 10 times. Why is my heart rate still only 82 beats per minute? I'm that much work in the context of I'm a runner. I don't understand why my heart rate is not 140, 145. And I'm exhausted, but I'm not running.
Yeah.
And so we joke about that all the time because he sees me checking my watch. He's like, what are you looking for? It's like, it's just a comfort thing. I'm a runner, right? And I just pushed the sled for 22 minutes and my heart rate is not above 90. And it's disturbing to me that did I not do as much or more work than I would have if I just ran 10 miles? And so I'm still learning, I guess is my point, that kind of work, supplementing the work that I'm used to as a runner is really important. And I should probably study the physiology and the biology and everything and read more books that you recommend to learn why you need both, right? It's not, this is better than that. They're complementary. And I'm getting it in the results, but I want to know more. I want to understand why that's important and why don't look at your heart rate when you're doing that kind of work. But if you have a way to measure the power output during that workout, now you're on something.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's just something that we joke about. And I try to be discreet when I check my heart rate after a maximum sled push like that. And he's like, I know what you're doing. Checking your heart rate. It's not going to tell you anything.
This just goes in things that we've already discussed, but I think it's, if I think at this point in time, your times are better right now because you're just a better athlete right now than what you were back in 2019. Like you're just more well-rounded. You could do more things. We'll work on that jump roping thing.
There you go.
But I love the jump roping thing just in the way of like the foot, getting the foot healthy and, flexing, extending, and you're doing it on both. You can run, which obviously that's what running ends up being. But I've always been a huge proponent of like the pose running or like the mid-foot striking just to absorb the ground type thing. That's, I think, why I like the trail running a little bit more. With the uneven ground, I felt like my athletes always had to shorten up their stride a little bit, which made their stride a little softer, which I think was less pounding on the body and I think was really, really good. You get on nice, perfectly flat pavement, you can extend out, and that's where a lot of this hard heel stuff comes from, which some people can get away with, some people can't. I mean, you look at some of the best runners in the world and they do. I don't know. It's an argument. Not for this podcast. We'll solve that argument a different day. But anywho, Rick, thank you so much, bud.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm excited for you.
Look out, Miami.
Look out, Miami. Here he comes. Listeners, thank you for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. That's all we have for you today. If you have any questions or want to chat or interested in seeing what we're up to in between episodes, head over to Instagram and Facebook and follow @OakStrength. Also check us out at oakstrength.com. If you like this episode, please share it with someone who wants to live happy, healthy, and strong. If you really liked it, subscribe and review the Happy, Healthy, Strong podcast on iTunes or Spotify. Be sure to tune back in next week and remember to keep owning your health.